I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The CEO of Netflix, he's Reed Hastings, and he said Netflix would order Dave Chappelle's comedy specials, quote, again and again. This was at the New York Times DealBook Summit. Hastings said, we're just trying to be the most exciting entertainment company and more. Chappelle's special was one of the most entertaining watch specials we've ever had. We would do it again and again. He describes Dave Chappelle as very entertaining and provocative, and aligns with Netflix's overall goal of being about entertainment. Sarah Silverman on her podcast caught up on Chappelle's SNL monologue from a few weeks back and said it was hilarious and brilliant and winning and charming and wildly anti-Semitic. Most people who watched it, hating Jews was not their takeaway, but I'll tell you, Jews for the most part were hypersensitive to it. Like any minority will be keenly aware of the hatred and little aggressions against them. And there were a lot of Jewish jokes in there that were effing hilarious, but that's what made the anti-Semitism in it so scary it bolstered it. The idea of calling out massively influential zillionaire superstars for posting lies and promoting hatred of Jews, all Jews, like we're a monolith, is that Jews blaming their troubles on black Americans. That idea is effing insane. I can't believe I have to say this. Each of them, meaning Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, individually have more followers on Instagram than there are Jews in the world. Jews aren't punching down here by calling out anti-Semitism. Effing good grief. I have never felt more gaslit than Dave accusing Jews for blaming their problems on black Americans. It's not a thing. Besides the fact that 13% of American Jews are black, I don't know a single Jew that blames black Americans for their problems, but I have seen people blame Jews for their problems. This burbling divided between Jews and black Americans behooves someone, and it's neither of us. Psst, it's white supremacists. As for Dave Chappelle's observation that there were a lot of Jews in Hollywood, Sarah said, Dave is right, but Jews don't run Hollywood. Jews invented Hollywood because Jews were forbidden from working in most industries, so they made one up. They took nothing and they made something. This was a little underreported. Will Smith was on with Trevor Noah last week. By the way, this is Trevor Noah's final week as host of The Daily Show. Smith talked about the slap and he said, there's many nuances and complexities to it, but at the end of the day, I just lost it. People magazine spoke with a veteran studio publicist who said, I thought he was doing a good job, but he did two things that bothered me. Will never said he was sorry again, and he didn't address Chris Rock again. Maybe that's on purpose, but when he said, I have to accept myself as being a flawed human, it was a little bit of, I'm letting myself off the hook. I wanted to hear something about the work he's doing. I do believe he's gutted, but it needed more humility. I don't think this automatically shifts him into a different position in the Oscar race, but I do appreciate that he recognizes that he jeopardized the work of all these artists. I just wanted sorry. What I do agree with is that cancel culture is getting bananas. I don't think he should be judged on this one incident the rest of his life. The ever-so-serious Harry Kondobolu will have a new special on Netflix next year, and he says, so the new special, about 20% of that is going to be about having a kid during the pandemic and a lot of the issues that were happening during that time, in addition to larger issues about race and gender and sexuality and the things I've historically talked about. I almost always say the ever-so-serious before I say the words Harry Kondobolu, because every interview I see with the ever-so-serious Harry Kondobolu, he is ever so serious. You can crack a joke every now and then, Harry, it'd be all right. But this stuff's important to him. He said, I'm talking about colonialism and racism and things that, even if you see incremental change, are so structural. If my goal were anything, it would be to no longer be necessary to need to talk about the things I'm talking about, but they're still relevant and they're still happening. After 9/11, Hari's skin tone marked him as potentially Arabic, and he experienced prejudice and judgment for the first time. He volunteered for an immigrant rights organization, and he said, all of a sudden I realized I have a stage, and I'm not saying anything, so I started to use that space to talk about things I care about. It's a very strange time, and I haven't lost sight of the fact that even when I'm performing in liberal places, that doesn't mean everybody's thinking the same way. It's a lot more diverse than I ever realized. My goal has always been to try to reach as many people as possible. Sometimes that's hard because the subject matter, as funny as it is or open as you make it, it'll be too much for some people, but I've realized having a kid has given me a common ground with a lot of people who might not agree with other things. It's like when you're friends with somebody, you're more than willing to listen to them even if you disagree. I like Hardy's comedy a lot. I remember the first time I saw him, Chicago, at what's the club right next to Second City? Really, really funny comedian, even though his interviews are ever so serious. If you enjoy what I do here, one of the ways to support the show is go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. You can throw a couple bucks in the tip jar. Most people do $5. You can also become a member. Kenny is a member. Kenny's got it all set up that he automatically buys me a coffee once a month. Thank you, Kenny. I don't have a prop with me here today. I drank it kind of early this morning. So that's buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Shout out to Jason in Asheville. We've been trading emails back and forth about the show, and he had some very constructive criticism for the show, and I did take that in, and I appreciate Jason listening. And, always happy to hear from anybody if you've got some thoughts about the show. I specifically appreciated Jason gets the vibe that I'm going for here. He says it's one of the first podcasts he listened to in the morning. And yeah, I'm kind of going for like a light morning vibe. You're easing into the morning. Hopefully this is friendly on your ears. I'm not shouting too much unless I break into half-assed Angry Jerry Seinfeld. A couple fluffy stories, in and out, 15 minutes. We're good. That's what I'm going for here. So appreciate you, Jason. Here's a fascinating story to me. It's got some horribleness to it, but I've been keeping an eye on it, and I didn't know what to do with it, and now the laugh button kind of put it together for me. Thank you, laugh button. So the horrible part, Doug Stanhope shared that his house caught fire right before Thanksgiving. But I had noticed on Doug's Twitter account, he had tweeted the following. Now pay attention here. Hey, Jake, I'm not going to name your insurance company publicly quite yet, but know that it will become very public. The podcast about the fire goes out tomorrow. Tomorrow is late last week as you're listening to this. That's when I was whimsily optimistic. Today, things got problematic. Get your stuff together. Our stuff. In another tweet, he wrote, my farm got farmed out to another farm, and then to another farm, and then to another farm. And then all those farmers called me back at different times to ask about farming. So it seems like Doug is upset with a particular insurance company. Keep an eye on that story. I'm glad he and his family are okay. I do appreciate the feistiness on Twitter, though. BBC Studios has launched a new comedy channel. It's called Funny Parts. It's focused on new short-form comedy and entertainment content alongside the best and funniest moments from the richest catalog of comedy. All right, what are you guys rolling out? First up, Hack Attack. It's a 10-part game show where celebrity guests have to answer fiendish questions set by a mysterious hacker, or else they risk having their secrets released from their personal devices. If they fail, their cringy photos, dating app chat, and online purchase history is revealed. Maybe I'm just self-confident. You can go on my phone right now. You're going to find out I bought some steel wool to plug a hole where the mice are getting into my basement. You want to make fun of me because I have a mouse? All right, go ahead. This is fun. Let's see what cringy photo I have on my phone. A lot of pictures of me and the dogs. Yeah, not seeing anything horrible on my phone. You can go through my phone. What's the third category here? Dating app chat. Never been on a dating app. I might go on Hack Attack if I'm invited. I haven't been invited yet. Little Rants sees 10 celebrities get something off their chest that's really been bugging them, whether it's reaching the age where it's no longer acceptable to wear Disney princess dresses or the madness of delivery services. That show's called Little Rants. All right, BBC Studios, Funny Parts. And I have a nomination for the Clickbait Hall of Fame. Sometimes if I'm looking for one more story to finish out the podcast, for example, this story, I'll type the name of a famous comedian into Google. In this instance, I typed in Bill Burr, and this came up. Bill Burr tells Joe Rogan, my bank is taking $28 a month out of my account for no reason. I'm like, oh, cool. Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, those names both do well for SEO. I can put them in the headline. Okay, what's this story? I didn't even know Burr was on Joe Rogan recently. He wasn't. I clicked through. MSN.com had an article about banking fees. You got me. I clicked. MSN, you are in the Clickbait Hall of Fame. And that's your comedy news for today. You can follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your shows, and I'll see you here tomorrow.